Welcome to MMA on the Rocks. My name is Bill Welker. You are listening to episode 343 of the podcast, unless you're joining live on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. If you want to catch the show live, subscribe on one or all of those platforms and turn on your notifications so you know when the show is live, like right now. Today is Thursday, December the 28th. I hope everybody had a fantastic holiday. I definitely did. This is normally the night of the week that we do picks and pours, but there's nothing to pick. So we're just having some pours, and I'm joined by my friend all the way from the other side of US 19, Matt the mechanic. Matt, how you feeling? How's your Christmas?
My Christmas was good. Hey, Bill, have you ever heard of the Baia expedition?
Baia?
I don't know how to say it. Some Finnish word, but it's like this. It was in the late 1800s, like an expedition to Antarctica. And listen to a podcast, and they talk about how once they got down there, they made the decision to just get frozen in the ice, and for like 6 months, they just lived in their ship, basically frozen in the ice. When I was listening to that, that is how I feel waiting on the UFC to start up again.
So wait, the ship was frozen in the ice?
Yeah, so you know this is the late 1800s, and it's a steam engine, so they could either the winter's coming, and they weren't making the progress they wanted, so their plan was to go to Australia and hang out for the winter, but they just decided to save time, and they just stayed there. And the ice, when the winter came, it just froze around them, and then
And
there's awesome pictures on there of it. It's pretty neat.
you gotta send some of those to me. But did you see a documentary on this or something?
No, it's this neat podcast I found called it's just called the Explorers Podcast, and there's this
Hmm.
guy. He's been doing it since 2016. He just explains different adventures and expeditions across, in the history.
Hmm. You really have been desperate for content without the UFC, huh?
Yeah, it's getting rough.
So, well, like, can they get out if they wanted to? Like, if they
No,
turned on the steam engine?
no, they're frozen. They're actually just it, the ice is moving, and there's a whole lot to it. But they just had to stay there. It's dark. They it was dark for 40 days or 42 days. They're just 18 men in a ship. And luckily, there was only one American, and he was the doctor. And they got scurvy. You know how you get scurvy?
I'm not familiar with how you get it. No.
It's a lack of vitamin C.
Hmm. Oh, because there's no sun.
There's no sun. So luckily, the doctor was smart enough to figure out that you could get it vitamin C from penguin meat if you ate it raw. So they just forced his crew to eat raw penguin meat, and they all came back, and that's where I'm at. I haven't made it through the rest of the story, but I just think that's the way that you would feel locked in that boat for four
So,
months.
18 dudes for 4 months with
Yep.
no lights eating raw penguin meat.
Yeah. Yep.
I imagine you come out of that a changed person.
Yeah. It was a 3 year operation.
This is the content you're going to get this week, folks, because there's no MMA going on really. I know there's some Ryzen fights at some point, but uh, I don't have the time zone to keep up with Ryzen. So this is where we're at. Dudes frozen on a boat eating raw penguin meat. So if this isn't what you tuned in for, I apologize. We'll get back to our regularly scheduled programming soon. Um,
Hey, Bill,
I
when I was on the road, I went did some bourbon hunting.
yeah, I saw you found some good stuff. Tell us about it.
Well, so I was heading through southern Georgia, and I always like to stop at the random liquor stores. And this time, I actually took a different route to go
Hmm.
through a different town. I went to Albany, Georgia,
Okay.
and I stopped at the first place. And this place was not the nicest place,
Okay.
but they had a very nice selection of dusty bourbons. That's where I picked up a bottle of Eagle Rare, and I picked up a couple extra for some friends.
Hmm.
And then I went to another one, and there was the man in there. I asked him for the 13th colony, and he says, "Oh no, man, this isn't the place for you to find that. Like you need to go across town to this package store."
Mm.
So that's when I made it over the package store because you had told me to look up for the 13th colony.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't find the double. Was it double smoked?
Double oaked.
Double oak.
Yeah, I didn't think you would. I I didn't want to tell you how hard it was to find because I thought maybe you would just have like some beginner's luck, like
Yeah,
just going
I
in blind. But yeah, it's basically impossible to find.
yeah, because that store they had the what is this the southern wheated bourbon,
Mm-hmm.
but when I asked for the double oak, she just kind of smirked and said that she had auctioned it off.
Mm. Yeah, it's like it's like if you go into a store here and ask for Blanton's or something, it's like they're almost never gonna have it. But you didn't like the 13th colony, huh?
It's grown on me. Um, I think the first time I tried it, was sipping on some Eagle Rare, and then I switched to that,
Ah,
and then tried it again. This is the third time I've tried it, and it's all right.
all right. So
I
you're
really like the
going.
Heaven
You're
Hill much, but the Heaven Hill is much better.
which Heaven Hill is that? The Bottle and Bond.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Heaven Hill makes some. A lot of people sleep on the Heaven Hill distillery. They make some awesome whiskey. Um, Elijah Craig comes out of there. Um, Rittenhouse Rye, excellent. Um, they make a lot of great stuff. Uh, yeah. So, did you find anything else, or
they
just?
the one that I found the Eagle Rare in, they had Pappy Pappy, and then another one I was in, they had like a is there a Pappy 15?
Mm-hmm.
So they had that one. It was priced at like $3,000, and you had to buy 5 bottles of random bullshit to even buy it, which I don't understand that at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a
In
person
order
that's
to get the opportunity to spend 3 grand on this bottle, you have to buy 5 of our store picks.
I mean, that gimmick makes sense. I think for I don't know, maybe Blanton's, because a person that's looking for Blanton's, they're probably gonna, because usually the picks that they make are like Jack Daniels on sale or something, so it's
Mm-hmm.
at least useful. But I don't think anybody buying that Pappy wants anything to do with Jack Daniels.
Right. But here's how liquor stores kind of work. So some of them will do what are called store picks, which is basically they'll buy an entire barrel, um, and they put their store label on it, and they want to move those as quick as possible because they pay a higher premium than just buying like a case of Jack Daniels, and they want to show the distillery that they can move the product. So it's important to them if they do a store pick and they buy that entire barrel, it's important to them to sell all those bottles, um, because then you develop a good rapport with the distillery and they'll send you better stuff. So liquor stores will try all kinds of ways to entice people to buy their store picks. Some of them will do it by actually picking really good whiskeys from really good distilleries, and putting their label on it and getting a reputation for it. Others will do stupid shit like this and require you to buy their store picks or buy whatever they're pushing, um, in order to have the chance to buy, a higher price tag bottle. And it's weird. And then the big brand stores like Total Wine, for example, they're forced to push certain bottles. Like the employees will actually make commission or something. There's some kind of rewards program for the employees if they're able to sell certain bottles. So if you go in and you don't know anything about whiskey and you ask a Total Wine employee for a recommendation, they're always going to recommend the same things. They're going to tell you like, "Oh, this have you had this 1792? It's fantastic. It's such a smooth bourbon." And they'll use like good like selling words that people want to hear, like smooth and easy to drink, and oh, any bourbon lover will love this if you're giving it as a gift.
If I
But
didn't know what you're talking about, I would think you're describing our medical industry we have these days.
Yeah, I mean, sales is sales, right? No
Yeah.
matter what you're selling, there's always got to be a financial incentive, right? In order to move the product, whether it's drugs or alcohol or medical supplies or, whatever.
There was another interesting liquor store. It was a much far more rural place, but it was this little place on the side of the highway. I stopped, I got out, I walked in, and I didn't see any liquor. It was just like a gas station without the gas station. And I go, oh, he goes, oh, can I help you? I go, oh, I thought this was a liquor store. He's like, oh no, it's on the other side of the building.
Hmm.
So I go and walk around the other side of the building, and I walk in, and the same guy is standing there.
I was just gonna ask you, did the same guy go through like a trap door and he's also
Yeah,
the
he did.
clerk?
And he said, "Welcome to my liquor store." And his prices were ridiculous. He had, I don't even, that didn't seem like a legal operation. He only had like one of each kind of alcohol. And he's like, "If you come back on Christmas, I'll give you a discount." It was, yeah. I like those kind of stops though, because like you get a good chuckle, and I only missed 5 minutes,
That's
but
awesome.
this one, this trip, I learned we have better luck. The more terrifying the place looks to walk into, the
Hmm.
better luck of finding some good bourbon.
Oh, sure. Because in a shitty area, people aren't buying good stuff. They're in there buying like, the cheapest stuff to get hammered. So, i- even if they bought those cases of Eagle Rare 5 years ago and they're just sitting on the shelf collecting dust, it's still Eagle Rare. But that story reminds me of the National Lampoon's Vacation. Are you familiar with this movie, Chevy Chase?
Just the original one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably the one I'm least familiar with, but
So there's a scene where he drives his car off the road and he has to walk through the desert to find a mechanic that'll tow his car to fix it. And the guy he asks the guy like, "Oh, how much for the repairs?" And he says, "Everything you've got." And he's like, "No, seriously, how much for the repairs?" He's like, "All of it." And he said, "Well, I wonder what your local law enforcement would say about this." And the guy flips open his wallet and he has a sheriff's badge
yeah.
inside.
Well,
So he
that's about the area I was in.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't drive your car off the road then, because that liquor store guy would have been the mechanic and the sheriff.
Yeah, it's a great, beautiful place. Southern Georgia, southern Alabama. I think it gets slept on a little bit, but it is some place it's going to be a little interesting.
How long have you been doing this? Because you and your wife go out and unplug for Christmas. This is at least the second year you've done
No,
this,
this is
right?
our. We've actually done this 4 times now.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we've been going to this campgrounds for 10 years. It's one of our favorites.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, for last 4 years, Stacy and my dog and I we just to pack a car up with some food, some bourbon, and some board games, and we just go hang out. I think for the 3 days we were there, we'd only see maybe 2 or 3 people on the hiking trails.
Mm.
Um, your cell phone kind of works like it's on a delay. Like I could text you, but I just text you and then look at my phone in the morning, and I might have a response. So
Yeah,
it's a good time. We don't deal with the Christmas gifts. We just hang out. They'll probably put on a couple pounds.
that's awesome. Yeah, but then you're hiking and everything, you're being active, so it all balances out. I
Yeah,
mean
the hiking trails aren't very long on this one, but it's a pretty uh, it's pretty fun. We also uh, found this place. Well, it's actually the second time we went. It's called the Little Grand Canyon.
mhm.
Southern Georgia is just flat farmland, but however long ago somebody built a levee somewhere, and it totally screwed up the landscape there. And it made this giant canyons, and you could trick somebody into thinking they're in like a desert canyon, and they're actually in
Mm.
like southern Georgia.
This trip is sounding more and more like National Lampoon's Vacation. Because they were
Yeah,
like, he crashed his car in the desert. So that's nice though. It's just become like your Christmas tradition then, that you just go and unplug and spend time together and drink good whiskey and spend time outdoors. It's like, it sounds like an awesome tradition that's kind of like outside the norm of what Christmas has become.
it might be a little closer to what it should be, but who knows? I'm sure there's a lot of fun had with the gifts and all that stuff. But
Yeah, for sure. Um, for me personally, this was probably, I want to say, probably the best Christmas I've had, just
that's
because
good.
my daughter's at such a fun age for it right now, where she's like learned all the words to the Christmas carols, and she's been really into making gifts. Like, she's really handy with the arts and crafts and stuff. So she's been making little gifts for everybody, and she's learned how to wrap gifts and stuff, and she really loves like giving stuff to people. I've gotten like 6 Christmas gifts from her since Christmas, of like
Oh yeah,
just
she just whip a little something up for you.
yeah, yeah. Oh, daddy, I meant to give you this on Christmas. Meanwhile, I
Oh,
saw her
sick.
working on it all morning, but
Yeah, that's
it,
fun. You know, she's always been a person, but she's more of a like a becoming more formed, and you can
yeah,
interact better.
she's like a little lady now. She actually got her ears pierced yesterday, which was a big step. And that was her choice, and she wanted to go to the store and get it done. So my wife took her um while I was at the gym last night, and they went and did that. So now it's like, last Christmas I had this little kid in my house, and now I have like this young adult walking around like giving people Christmas gifts with her ears pierced, and it's been like night and day from last year.
Yeah, I have a feeling the next year for Christmas, her Christmas requests will be much different than this year.
Oh yeah, this year there was nothing she even really wanted. She was just like, every time we went to see Santa Claus, all she would ask for are these like surprise eggs, which is basically like you open a present to open a present. It's like a plastic egg, and then it's got like little tiny surprises in it, like a little doll or a little dog with like little tiny accessories in it, and that's all she wanted. So and she was like so thrilled on Christmas morning to get a bunch of this stuff. I don't see the appeal of it, but it's like, you know, I'm sure I was into some obscure things when I was 5, so that my parents didn't understand, but it's part of the fun of being Santa Claus, you know.
Yeah, I think I have memories of about around 5 of being pissed and laying under the Christmas tree crying because I didn't get a Michael or a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles action figure. So, yeah,
Yeah, I definitely went through that phase too.
yeah, it was
With
like the one that you could open his back and store like his little what are those little things they fight with the spike with the two other spikes.
oh, the size.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I was big into Ninja Turtles. I remember I remember getting the I was big into Ghostbusters too. That was a big one for me, which
yeah.
the Ghostbusters movie came out, I think, the year I was born. And then I grew up with the cartoon. So of course the movie with Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis and Ernie Hudson. But then I knew the cartoon first, and I love the cartoon. So of course you got to have all the action figures from that. So those were my Christmases as a kid, pretty much. But
I should finish that story and not like I was like mistreated. I that was like what I asked for apparently, but my grandmother bought it for me, and we didn't do that till later. So Christmas morning,
uh
I kind of was all pissed and cried and cried and cried. I just had to wait until later that evening.
and your parents knew, and they just
Yeah,
didn't.
they knew the whole time it was a total nightmare. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I think
They're
that even might have been the year we got like a new puppy. We got like a brand new puppy that ran, and everyone's like, "Oh yay!" And I'm like, "Where's my fucking Ninja Turtle?"
Yeah. This puppy doesn't have any weapons.
Yeah,
What a hallmark moment. The
yeah,
puppy
it was.
comes running in slow motion,
Yeah, I do
and
remember that, and I do remember that being pleasant. But I definitely remember laying upside down, staring at the tree, just being heartbroken because I didn't get whatever the orange one was. What's the orange one?
it's Michelangelo.
Michelangelo. Yeah,
But he had the nunchucks, not the scythe.
yeah. I haven't paid attention to the turtles in a while.
Oh man.
Instead, I'm listening to stuff about dudes in a boat eating penguin.
Yeah. Well, they're all frozen in together.
Yeah. Ugh.
Uh, I I did get into some whiskey this past week as well. So I think for the first time ever, my wife like gave me whiskey for Christmas. Usually she always goes through all this like, "Well, what do you want?" And I'm like, "Just go look at the bar, see what's running low, and I'm sure I would love that." She actually went on her own to the liquor store and picked out a few bottles, and she did an awesome job. So this was the best one she got. As you can see, I did some damage on it.
Damn.
This is Heaven's Door. So this is Bob Dylan's whiskey, knocking on heaven's door. Here I am knocking on heaven's door. And I had always heard about this bourbon, and I've heard it was good, but I've never been into like celebrity brand stuff. And I saw Bob Dylan in concert maybe I want to say like 9 years ago now. It was because my dad got tickets. My dad always buys tickets to like random concerts. And I was never a big fan of Bob Dylan's music as performed by Bob Dylan, you know?
Yeah.
I more liked the covers from like Jimi Hendrix and other people that would cover his music. I never really got into Bob Dylan. Um, but that concert was one of the best concerts I had ever seen. It was like, and I had heard mixed things about him in concert. He's like kind of a weird dude. So sometimes he doesn't like people singing along to his music. So he'll just like change the tempo if people start singing along to it. It's it's weird. He's an odd guy.
He doesn't like a good vibe at his concert. I guess
Yeah, he doesn't like
people having fun,
yeah. eh,
enjoying the show.
Yeah, none of that.
None of that.
So
Only him.
I've heard all that and I'm thinking like, "Oh man, this show's going to suck. I'm going to have to listen to like whatever along the watchtower, like the most boring version I've ever heard." Um but it was one of those shows where there was like almost like a haunting vibe in the air, and he just crushed it. He put on such an amazing performance. Um like every song hit, and nobody was really like singing along or anything, but everybody was into it the whole time. And he just like hit a crescendo in the beginning and kept it riding out through the whole show. Um and like I said, I'm not even like a huge fan of his music, but the show was just so incredible. So I never really sought out the whiskey because I have my kind of experience with Bob Dylan and it was awesome. I don't really listen to his music anymore. I just kind of had that moment, that experience with Bob Dylan. So, and I don't usually like the celebrity whiskey. So I thought, like, I don't want anything to ruin, this kind of moment, this relationship I have with Bob Dylan by trying his whiskey and then it sucks like all the other celebrity brands. But this stuff is excellent. It's got um that reddish color that always kind of hints to me that'll be something I like. Um, it's got a little baking spice to it, a lot of vanilla, like dark cherry stuff. I would compare it to like the Redwood Empire Pipe Dream or the Clyde Mays 5 year. Pretty similar to Eagle Rare too.
So is there only one bottle? I swear they have like a bunch of different stuff.
Oh yeah, they do all kinds of stuff.
And he like did this, or he's just it's like the sponsor, like the
I think
spokesperson.
I think he was pretty hands on with it. And if you look at the bottle, it's got like all this artwork on it that seemed like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of steampunk looking kind of stuff. So this is the straight bourbon from Heaven's Door. I have to do a little more research into it, but I think he was pretty hands-on with selecting this, and he seems like a guy that's very particular about the stuff he puts his name on. But oh yeah, they do all kinds of like cast strength and um I think I think they have like yeah, all different kinds of things. I've always heard good things about it, but I never really sought it out because I didn't want to ruin that Bob Dylan experience that I've had with, trying his whiskey and hating it. But my wife picked out this bottle and I tried it and I was like, wow, this is right up my alley. I kind of wish I tried it sooner.
Yeah. I heard Brendan Schaub has a nice whiskey too. You should try
Oh
that.
god, no. I mean, look, if it was like a 40 or $50 bottle, I would get one and try it for the show, but it's it's a blend of bourbon and Japanese whiskey, which just sounds disgusting to me. And it's like 80 bucks.
Yeah.
So is
I
it
would try
worth
it though. I wish I could find it at a bar or something, but I have to go to
uh,
a bar to actually find it.
well, I can tell you several liquor stores that carry it around here.
Yeah, but I don't want to buy a bottle of it. I just like to like buy a drink. You know,
I've thought
or
about
or
it.
I'm just keep pestering you until you buy it, and then next time I come over, I'm gonna try it.
Uh, all right, maybe. I
Maybe
I
you'll find
always
it on the clearance section soon.
every time I see it, I'm like, is it worth the joke? Like, can I come up with a joke about it that's good enough that would be worth spending 80 bucks to like create content with? And like nothing comes to mind because
Part of me wants to buy one because I just want it to be good enough that you have to sit there and be like, you know what, this isn't that bad.
that would be the ultimate punchline for you, wouldn't it? If I got it and it was really good.
You're like, it's not that. I come over and it's like almost gone. I'm like, what's going on here?
There's no chance of that.
Yeah, you even if it was good, you'd have put a block.
Yeah,
Do a
I think
blind
I
taste
think
test.
that would be the case. And I've experienced that before where something was probably like not bad, but I just had in my mind that it wasn't going to be good and I just ruled it out. Or I've built something up so much. Which brings me to the second bottle I want to talk about. This was another one my wife picked out. This was a bottle I never thought about seeking out. It's called Chicken Cock.
Oh, that's a top shelf. That's a behind the counter.
Is it? I have no idea. So this one, I've heard mixed things about this as well. And I have to say, first sip, um, and by the way, she admitted that she strictly bought this because of the name.
Oh,
Like,
whenever I see a thing like that, I assume that's what they're going for.
well, I don't know, man. Supposedly, this is like one of the oldest bourbon brands in the United States. It was established in 1856.
Oh,
So,
maybe I don't know.
like,
Language was different back then.
yeah, like who knows what this even means? you know, like I don't know.
So how's it taste?
So first taste, it was not my thing, and it's got this like kind of pale brown color to it, which is usually a signal to me of something I'm not really gonna enjoy. It did grow on me though, and I made an old fashioned with it, and that was delicious. Um, but from what I understand, the price tag is, I don't know if I would get another bottle of this. And then I tried it neat again, and I enjoyed it a little bit more. But I don't know, man. If I had
Yeah,
to go into a liquor store and ask for it by name, I definitely wouldn't buy another
it'll be
bottle.
interesting to see when it sits at the bar if people like when you go, oh, we want a drink, and people just gravitate to that
Yeah,
because of the name.
yeah, yeah. I want, like if I lined up 5 whiskeys, and they're
Yeah,
like,
let's see.
"Oh yeah, I'll try that chicken cock for
Yeah,
sure."
it would be a cool if it was like your favorite, and you could just, what's your favorite? Chicken cock.
Yeah.
If it was like your legit favorite. So what's the last one, or is that it?
Oh yeah, I have one more. So my wife is a part of all these like mom Facebook groups in the area, which she has been like since our daughter was born. So we made friends with a bunch of parents who have kids the same age as our daughter. And it's always like the moms that are organizing, when we hang out and do parties and stuff. And then they're always having like all these girls' nights. So it's been almost 6 years now that I've known all these dads in the group. So I was like, well, it's about time we had like a dad's night. So my idea was we'll do it for Christmas. Everybody brings a bottle of bourbon, and I put 30 to $40 limit on it. Try to bring something outside the box. Um, and then we would crack them all, try them all, and then we would do like a white elephant style to see which bottle you go home with. And you couldn't go home with the bottle you brought. So I had I had like the campfire going outside, and I had the chairs set up around the campfire, and I had my daughter label the chairs with numbers. So when everybody sat down, whatever chair they were in, the number was the order they got to pick their bottle. So
Kind of
these
like
guys,
Oprah.
huh?
That's what Oprah used to do, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, he used to put the shit underneath the chair and he'd be like, "Look under your seat."
Well, we put all the bottles on the table, so everybody saw what there was. There was, I think, 6 of us, so we tried 6 different bourbons, and not everyone was a bourbon drinker, so some of them by, like, the 3rd bottle were a little wobbly. Um, so I was actually really impressed with the bottles these guys brought, and, like, some of them went into the liquor store and was like, "Look, I need something outside the box under 40 bucks," and whatever. They brought some good stuff. One guy brought a Chattanooga Cask Strength, which was really good. Um Another guy wound up bringing the Russell Reserve 10-year that I really like. Somebody brought Whistle Pig, but, the one I wound up choosing was one that I had never had before, and it's from this brand, Still Austin, which I
Never
had
heard of it.
seen on the shelf and I had been curious about, um, and I tried it, and this is really good stuff. So, obviously, comes from Texas. Um It's the Still Austin Whiskey Company, but they come from, Manor, Texas, so it's not in Austin. This stuff's really good. It's got, like, a little bit more of a spice than you would expect from a bourbon, like, not a whole lot of sweetness, but it's got enough sweetness to balance out the spice. It's a really well-rounded bourbon. I really liked it a lot. As you can see, I've been drinking quite a bit over this holiday.
I
Obviously,
was
we've
just
been
gonna say something. I was gonna say there's got some room in those bottles,
yeah, a lot of air in them.
but it's
It's
like
like
yeah, it was a party, right? Everybody's just hit, you know.
yeah, yeah, so that one was we were pouring out a bunch that night. Um, it's like when you open a bag of chips and it's, like, all air. Imagine if that was whiskey.
Yeah. Did you
Just
say what you brought? Which bottle did you bring?
oh, so I brought, Milliman Green Triple Cask, which was a whiskey I was talking about on the podcast a few weeks ago. Um, I think you may have tried it when you came over, right?
Maybe whatever one I tried, I remember liking it. I had to
Yeah,
start writing it, taking pictures or something.
I think the last pay-per-view you came over for, you asked to try it, and um, I ran upstairs and got it, but, um, yeah, I actually cheated at the game because well, I didn't really cheat. I followed the rules that I made up, but it was a
Yeah,
$40
you're
limit.
cheating. You have a podcast about bourbon that you cheated.
Yeah, well, most of the other guys enjoy bourbon as well. Everybody had an awesome time. It was like when all the moms plan stuff to do, it takes them weeks and weeks and weeks. I sent out one group text. I'm like, Thursday, 7 o'clock, bring a bottle of bourbon. And everybody either sent like an emoji or like, I'll be there. And that was it. And
Well, yeah, that's the way it works with husbands, I think.
yeah, it was so easy. Um, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah.
What'd you?
So the bottle I picked typically like a $55 bottle, but it happened to be on sale at Lucan's for $39.
So within the rules.
Oh yeah.
It's the one that the one you let me try was the one that you took to bare knuckle.
Yes. That's it. Same one. Yeah, it was a big hit. It was actually like when we went through the who got to pick the bottles, it was the first one to get chosen.
Well, like I said, cheater.
Yeah.
Should have done tequila or vodka.
Nah, vodka. I wouldn't have chosen any of them. Tequila. So I do enjoy tequila, but like in the summer.
Yeah, I like tequila and rum. I like some gin. Gin. If I have like an old wives' tale. If I'm sick, you drink some gin and go to bed. I don't know if it works, but it doesn't taste that good. But it doesn't make you go to sleep.
Oh, gin tastes horrible. It tastes like perfume.
Yeah, but you're trying to. If I get out the gin, I'm sick, so it's worth it.
If I get out the gin, I'm gonna be sick.
So how long do we have till fights? Do we have fights coming up, or what's going on with this?
I don't fucking know. But last thing on the booze, which I'm sure people are already tuning out, because all we've done is talk about whiskey and Christmas. But I have and the raw penguin meat. I have like a calendar that I kind of go by subtly, and it's the seasons of alcohol. So summertime is like bourbon and tequila. Fall is mostly bourbon. As we get into winter, it's like bourbon and rye. If it's really cold in the winter, I like scotch. I like a real smoky scotch. And then as we get to springtime, it's back to bourbon. And then as we get to summer, so on and so forth. I also like rum in the fall. Rum is like a good fall drink. I usually make like a spiced rum around Thanksgiving.
January 13th is the next UFC event.
Oh, what the fuck? There's still like 2 more weeks.
Yeah. And then, yeah.
All these bottles are going to be empty by then.
It looks like we get Ankalaev, Whitaker 2. And then the next week is Strickland, Duplessis. And then it looks like they have 2 more weeks off.
Oh, man.
I don't know. The 20th, January 20th to February 3rd. Is that 2 weeks?
Is this like, we got to look up if this is like the least amount of events in recent memory, because it used to be, there's 52 weeks a year. They were doing 50 events for a while.
No, they did 52 last year, or 50 last year.
Did they?
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like it. Well, I don't know if you had any fight announcements you wanted to talk about, but I just saw this article that the UFC announced that the new drug testing company is going to be effective December 31st, and they are going with Drug Free Sports International, DFSI. Supposedly, all the samples are going to be tested at a laboratory in Salt Lake City, which currently does a lot of testing for WADA. So they follow all those protocols and stuff. And the list of banned substances isn't really going to change much. So it's not going to be much different from having USADA other than having a harder acronym to pronounce. I don't think it's really going to change anything.
This is the group that does the NCAA, NFL, MLB, NBA, LPGA, NASCAR. So they
all those organizations that like clearly allow steroids.
Yeah. Yep.
Like if UFC fighters start looking like NFL players,
well, I mean,
we're gonna have a whole different sport.
They also do the CrossFit games.
Oh, all right. Why are the CrossFit games drug tested? Like, who gives a shit if they're on steroids?
No, they should be. makes it better.
Yeah. If you're going to do 3,000 burpees, you might as well be on a little, you know, testosterone or something.
Yeah, so they're just yeah. You're probably right.
4,900 muscle ups.
Which, by the way, I'm okay with. Uh, an agency that might just go,
For MMA.
yeah, I don't. I mean, especially with the stuff, the recovery stuff, they need to quit that shit. Like they need to change. Like there's a difference between steroids and recovery stuff. I mean,
So you
I'm
mean
not
like
knocking.
allowing IVs?
Well, IV should be, in my opinion, should be no question. Well, they use it. What are they scared of? Somebody like using it to cover.
Yeah, well, that's how you beat the drug test is you can flush your system with an IV before you get tested.
Okay, so
Uh
take the sample before you get to IV.
yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, and furthermore, have the UFC can afford it. Provide some, you know, IV, or just quit weight cutting too,
yeah,
because
the UFC administers the IV.
yeah,
That would be a way around it.
you
So that they make
you
sure.
you weigh in, you go back to the back, you get your sample taken, and you get your IV.
Mhm. I mean, I'm pretty sure guys are still using IVs. Like they've got to
Well,
be.
it'd be easy to hide, right?
Like a guy like Alex Padilla who's cutting like 40 pounds. I mean, not anymore now. He's a light heavyweight, but when he was at middleweight, he's cutting like 40 pounds. Like he had to be using IVs. Like there's no way.
Yeah, that just seems silly. That's the one thing when I talk to like casuals and tell them about they can't do that. They're like, "Well, why not?" Like that doesn't make any sense. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
I don't know much about. I've never used steroids. I don't know. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So
I haven't used any today.
hmm.
I,
I think
I
the only
mean,
one I ever used is like called Plaquenil. That was because I had a infection or something.
I've taken steroids when I had like a bee sting.
Yeah, you got stung. What, didn't you get stung in the ear or something?
Oh yeah, by a wasp. That was awful. I wouldn't recommend it. Apparently I'm allergic. Uh so yeah, I had
There are some cool fights that we haven't talked about.
like announcements.
Yeah, like Ortega Rodriguez fight night, February 24th.
I like that because the first fight had kind of a weird ending where, Ortega's shoulder popped out and, there was kind of a debate about it. Like, well, did the fight end because he got injured? Yes, but was the injury caused by the submission attempt of Rodriguez? Yes. So I like that one.
Yeah, that one's fun. It's in Mexico City too, so we got elevation to deal with.
Hmm.
Uh,
Ortega is Mexican too, right?
yeah, he's Mexican, but he doesn't live in Mexico City.
Yeah. I mean, Yair is like Mexican from Mexico.
Yeah, I think Yair does his camps at like some Inca or Aztec. I don't know which one it is, but
Well, the Incans were South American.
okay, so it was Aztec.
Mm.
Uh, Vicente Luque isn't going to get another shot against Ian Gary. It's against Geoff Neal.
Wait. So Luque is not going to get a shot against Ian Gary.
No, they rescheduled it against Neal on UFC 298, February 17th.
Yeah. Um, Ian Gary, I think, really lucked out, like because of Colby Covington being such an asshole at the press conferences and the fight being boring with Leon. Everybody just kind of forgot about his shit that he had going
Yeah,
on.
the shit. He's a young kid. Who cares? His wife and that's their business. I just
Yeah,
care if the guy can fight,
yeah,
and it seems
and
like he can.
and they're putting him in there with Jeff Neal, who's not going to bring any of that up,
Yeah,
even though you know Ian Gary went. I think the first time they were supposed to fight, Ian Gary posted like an old mugshot of Jeff Neal getting arrested for DUI.
I think he. Well, that wasn't old. That was like less than a year away, like since it happened,
Oh, okay.
and he sold T-shirts.
Yeah, that's what it was. He sold T-shirts, but even still, like Jeff Neal's such a classy guy. He's not gonna go into the shit with Ian Gary's wife or anything.
Yeah.
I think he's pretty safe there.
The other thing is the first 300 UFC 300 fights. I want are any of these on the main card? Do you think?
Let
You
me
know what
s-
I'm talking about?
let me hear.
It's Yuri Prohaska versus Rakic.
That's a great fight.
It's a great fight, but I bet it's a prelim fight.
Mm, I don't know. That could be like the first fight on the main card.
And then it's Aljamain versus Cater.
That's a fun fight too. But yeah, I don't
I'm
know.
putting him on the prelim.
Yeah, I
And the
don't.
last one is this is the one I think that might be on the main card, and it's Bo Nickel versus Cody Brundage,
Mm,
which is I think the UFC's doing going to use Bo Nickel the way they did Sean O'Malley, and they're just not. They're giving him another layup.
yeah, Bo Nickel will be on the main card. I anticipate. Did Bo Nickel make his UFC debut in 2023? Because I was thinking about this for like a rookie of the year award. And I know we're kind of planning to do our award
Oh, we're
show.
gonna do that next Thursday, right?
Sure.
I think it's Bo Nickel.
Because there's no picks to make next week, so we might as well do the award show next week.
Yeah. His debut is that the Contender Series or actual UFC?
Let's say actual UFC.
Yes, March.
All right.
He's got 2 wins. Just over 3 minutes 20 seconds between the two.
Hmm. Interesting.
Performance of the night. One knockout or TKO and one submission.
Nice. One nut shot against Jamie Pickett.
And he's fought. His first fight was with Jorge, and that was June of 2022. And he's
Mm-hmm.
so he's 5 fights in 2 years.
And he's not fighting again until UFC 300. That's kind of
Yes.
surprising. I would have
think
thought.
if you get the call, you're an up and comer, and they want you to fight on 300. You're like, yes, sir.
Sure.
I guess
Eh,
you could say I'll get one in between, but
Any other confirmed fighter is Jim Miller will be on it, right? They said that. Somebody was saying Jim Miller and Clay Guida.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's 155, right?
Mm-hmm.
Put Tony in there.
Jim Miller and Tony.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess. Depends how long Tony's medical suspension was.
No,
Not going to be as long as Bryce Mitchell's.
it probably is.
No. No way. Bryce Mitchell probably got a 6-month suspension.
Yeah, I saw he's out there like doing push-ups for Jesus.
It's a lie from Satan, brother.
I want that sound clip on like every episode.
I kept it. I don't have any sound clips on my entire board except that one.
Yeah, keep that one on there. Make that one
Okay, Ferguson got 60 days.
Make that one a number one.
No, that's not right.
How many days did Bryce Mitchell get?
I don't know. That's not right. I don't know. I'm not gonna find it. This is all from 2022.
Push-ups for Jesus.
Yeah, I love that fight. That was so scary. Not such a scary knockout.
Oh, it was horrifying. That was one of the worst knockouts I've ever seen from a punch.
Yeah.
I've seen like knockouts that weren't so bad from like head kicks and flying knees.
Yeah, I saw one that was close. It was from a Contender Series. It popped up on my Instagram. It was, I think, oh crap! I just said my name. Uriah Hall. Did he have like a spinning back kick that was a pretty nasty knockout?
Oh yeah, that was on the Ultimate Fighter though, not the Contender Series.
Okay. Yeah. Oof.
Yeah, Uriah Hall was supposed to be like the new like boogeyman of the middleweight division.
You think you have a violent knockout like that, and you're like, I don't want to say a wimp, but a wimp's not the right word, but that could like affect your You know what I'm saying? Like, if you hurt somebody that bad, would that make you a little nervous to pull the trigger on stuff like that?
It depends on the person. Um, I I've kind of had that experience. Like for me personally, I've um I've hurt some people really bad, and it made me feel really bad. Like
Yeah.
I don't like hurting people, which is weird because I've been doing this sport for like 13 years now. But I don't enjoy that feeling. Like, when you catch somebody in a submission and you hear them like gurgling and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
That's just where I was going. Like, when I was a
yeah,
white belt, I was all about it. You didn't give a shit. But now you're like, man, like especially with neck cranks and stuff. It's like you're locked in. And that guy just doesn't want to tap, and you're like, man, I don't want to fuck your neck up for the next.
yeah. I'm probably at the point now where I've let go more submissions than I've finished.
Yeah.
Like willingly let go because people don't want to tap or whatever. And um, yeah, it's weird explaining to people that like I do this shit for fun and I teach other people how to do this shit, and I don't like actually hurting people. But for someone who is at the professional level, I don't know. Um, I don't know if it really affects them in the same way. Maybe some of them, but
Yeah, or maybe like that. This seemed to be turning out all right. I guess if he would have had long term like ended his career, then I'm sure that'd be a little different. Than
mhm.
we'll see.
Yeah, for
Anyway,
sure.
he doesn't. It was such an awesome knockout. The guy deserves all the credit.
Oh yeah,
I
for
saw
sure.
Bryce said that he didn't even remember until he was in the back,
Yeah,
and he
he
was like
said,
talking shit and all this stuff.
yeah, he got up and he was talking to Josh's corner and then everybody, and then he's like, I don't remember any of that. It's a lie from Satan, brother.
Yeah.
It's a lie from Satan, brother.
All right. Was there anything else you wanted to get
I
off
got
your chest
nothing.
here?
Nope.
All right. So we went into this episode with no content. We talked a bunch of whiskey. We talked about Christmas. We talked about eating raw penguin meat and like 5 minutes of fights, and we still managed to almost do an hour. Um, if you want to grab some MMA on the Rocks merchandise, it's reaper1.co is the website. Use the promo code MMA Rocks 10, save yourself 10% on your entire order. You can get an over the top, under the influence t-shirt, tank top, or hoodie. I happen to be wearing the t-shirt now. For those of you watching on YouTube, probably already noticed. Um, that's it. I don't think there'll be another episode this year. So I hope everybody has a happy new year. Have fun, be safe, drink some good whiskey, take some pictures of it. Tag me on social media. Let me know what you're thinking and drinking out there. And yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah. Hope everybody had an awesome 2023. And let's wrap this thing up. Until next time. Cheers, everybody. Goodbye.